I'm very pleased to introduce to you Brian Groudan. Brian.
Thank you for the introduction, President Cohen. Good morning, fellow graduates, friends, faculty, honored guests, family. Hi, Mom. I love these robes. In my head, I'm a young wizard graduating from Hogwarts. That's all I ever wanted. Okay, I want to start off by saying I am not cool. And I would venture to say that for many of us gathered here today, this statement holds some truth. We were never considered one of the cool kids. There's just something different about us. I see some nods in agreement, and I also see some confused looks. That's okay. Before you get offended, allow me to explain why this matters. I want you to think back to an earlier time. Try to recall what it felt like at that very early stage of your existence, though it may feel like light years away from where we are today. Remember those lazy afternoons, holed up in your room, reading Calvin and Hobbes? It was a time when if someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You could probably answer with just about anything. Astronaut, firefighter, President of the United States, Harry Potter. It was a time when who and how we would be in this world was not yet urgent, not yet fraught with obstacles, expectations, or self-doubt. It was a time when we could just be, and that was enough. There's that one Calvin and Hobbes comic strip where Calvin is leaning against a tree with his arms crossed, looking disaffected. Hobbes goes up to Calvin and asks, "What are you doing?" To which Calvin replies, "Being cool." Hobbes remarks, "You look more like you're being bored." And Calvin just shrugs and responds, "The world bores you when you're cool." Here's what I know now that I didn't know back then. The world shouldn't bore you. And if that's what it takes to be cool, then I don't want to be cool. Here at CMU, we aren't bored. And we don't care about being cool. That's what I love about us. We've all grown up. And as we've grown up, we were taught to police ourselves in accordance to cool. It's not cool to show too much emotion. It's not cool to be vulnerable. It's not cool to pour your heart into your work. Not here, not at CMU. And we learned that the day we moved in, I'm sure you remember that giant flock of students who rushed toward us like a giant tidal wave. It was terrifying. Names were exchanged, hugs were given and received, and then suddenly our bags were coaxed from our weary hands by our endlessly enthused orientation counselors as they led us to our new homes. Or if you lived in Mudge House, to your new mansion. There was not a shred of self-conscious posing from our fellow OCs. That night, I remember milling around Mudge Courtyard, stuffing my face with nachos and cheese while introducing myself to you guys. I wanted to meet as many people as possible because my high school years had instilled this cautious instinct within me to think that if I didn't make a good impression right away, it'd be too late. But as the night wore on, I quickly realized that none of that stuff mattered anymore. What mattered was the crackling energy in the August air that made us feel like we could stay away all night, making those first tentative steps towards friendships that would last us to the end of our days. Whether you're an undergraduate student or a graduate student, I'm sure you realize that it was pretty clear cool wasn't even on the table. There was too much experience, too much to explore here to waste time worrying about being cool. When someone says that's cool on this campus, let me give you some examples of what that means. Cool here is when Christian races over to the UC black chairs in between his classes. He can't wait to show everyone the snake game he's built over the weekend using just a Wiimote and some LEDs. Cool here is when Pooja spends all day selling Krispy Kremes on behalf of her dance team, Tana, so they can raise enough money for competition. And then she stays up all night practicing her choreography over and over again, even though she has an exam the next morning. Cool here is when Andrew camps out at the fence in the middle of the winter just to paint 3 Greek letters, Alpha Kappa Psi, because he's brimming with pride and accomplishment in having just joined a fraternity. Cool here is realizing that this school and all the opportunities it has given us is worth our time, our enthusiasm, our hard work, and sometimes our lack of sleep. Leaning against a tree to avoid awkwardness and masking how you really feel by looking disengaged and doing nothing is the farthest thing from cool here. My time at CMU ended a semester early. Last December, I had the opportunity to move out to the Bay Area and start a company with 3 friends from freshman year. We had this idea: what if you could link the cards in your wallet to your fingerprints to pay for things? You never need to carry around plastic cards again. We knew our idea would meet a lot of skepticism, fear, and in some cases, outright rejection. But we just kept going, and we built our product, PayTango, here at CMU, and no one stopped us. I really should give a special thank you to President Cohen for making it part of his mission to build a community where learning meets entrepreneurship. CMU took a chance on my team. CMU agreed to pilot our technology in its dining halls when everyone else said it was too risky or simply too early. Our first users were you guys, CMU students, who kept using the product and giving us valuable feedback, even when it was slow and sometimes broken. CMU faculty and alumni were the first people we turned to for advice. Although I was living across the country in San Francisco during my last semester, it felt like I never left Pittsburgh. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you who have helped us along the way. CMU took a chance on all of us that day we got our fat letter in the mail. So let's not forget to continue to pay it forward and take chances on ideas and people, even if it makes you the most uncool person in the room. We must listen before we judge those ideas that seem out there, and be patient with those people whose opinions are so different that it might seem scary at first. Class of 2013, we graduate today older, wiser, but not cooler, at least by the standard definition. I would invite you to join me in rejecting this rigid code of cool, but you know what? I don't need to, because in the span of these 4 years, you already have. We have already chosen to be among the explorers and inventors, the creators and leaders, the perpetually enchanted, the ones who will never cease to be amazed by the wonders of our world. And I have no doubt, my fellow graduates, that when I bump into you, whether it's a year from now or 20 years from now, I will find you among those who are too busy living, too busy caring, and too busy carrying on that tartan spirit to be cool. Congratulations.